May 5th, 1997 was a day like any other. 8-year-old Jamie Lavis was out playing with his siblings on Buckley Street in Manchester, England, when all of a sudden, he disappeared. In this video, we talk about what happened to Jamie Lavis, how the police stopped a serial killer in the making, and how a murderer befriended the victim's family and manipulated them into believing that Jamie was still alive. Born in 1989 to John and Karen Lavis, Jamie was the middle child with 4 siblings. His family described him as a playful, cheeky, and funny little boy. He was tiny for his age, standing only 4 feet tall. His mother had to dress him in clothes made for 5 to 6-year-olds. Jamie and his siblings would frequently spend the entire day playing outside. However, Jamie was scared of the dark, so he always went home by 4 p.m. On May 5th, 1997, little Jamie did not return home on time. His family didn't think too much of it, as they thought he probably lost track of time. But as 8 p.m. came and went, little Jamie was still not home. His family panicked and went out to the streets to look for him. They searched for hours but had no luck, and by 10 p.m. the police were involved. What followed was the most extensive police search in Manchester since the Moors murders in 1965. Everyone was out searching for Jamie. His family went on live TV and begged for his safe return. It wasn't long before tips and reported sightings began to pour in. Several witnesses told police that they saw Jamie board the 219 bus around 10:30 a.m. on the day he went missing. CCTV footage from the bus station revealed that he had spent most of the day on the bus, but from there, it seemed as if Jamie vanished into thin air. The search seemed to go nowhere for a while, and Jamie's parents were increasingly worried until a ray of hope appeared in their path. A local bus driver approached Jamie's family and informed them that a boy matching Jamie's description had been riding on his 219 bus on the day he went missing. But who was this bus driver, and what might a stranger know about what happened to Jamie Lavis? 28-year-old Darren Vickers was a local bus driver and the last person to have seen Jamie. He told the family and the police that the boy spent all day on his 219 bus. He said Jamie bought a day saver ticket and spent several hours riding around Manchester before Darren dropped him off near his home. Darren quickly established himself as a permanent fixture in Lavis' home, organizing searches and leading appeals for Jamie's safe return. He began acting as the family's unofficial spokesperson, holding press conferences and speaking on their behalf when they could not face the media. Everyone was desperate for answers. It seemed that Darren Vickers was able and more than willing to help them. The family saw Darren as a pillar of strength, and he started giving them hope that Jamie was still alive. He offered to take part in a reconstruction of Jamie's movements in the bus station. But his fixation with the family and the case started raising some eyebrows. The community and the police started wondering why this random man was so deeply invested in this case. As the inquiry progressed, the authorities discovered that Darren's involvement in the case was dubious and harmful to the investigation. Sharing data and updates with the Lavis family had become impossible because the information was continually getting back to Darren. More witnesses on the 219 bus that day were coming forward, each with a very different description of the bus ride than what Darren had told the police. Jamie was not just another passenger, as Darren said. They described Jamie as turning the bus into a playground, changing the gears, and handing out tickets to the passengers. Darren also told the police that Jamie had an all-day bus ticket, which sparked suspicion because kids were not allowed to purchase day saver tickets, leading the police to question whether Jamie had a ticket at all. The police didn't know for sure that Darren was the last person to admit to seeing Jamie that day. The police returned to the bus station, where it all began. They examined hours of CCTV footage from the day Jamie disappeared, and, sure enough, Jamie was there. However, the video also showed Darren approaching Jamie, ruffling his hair and talking to him for several minutes, which contradicted what Darren had told the authorities. Darren Vickers didn't take long to become a primary suspect in this case. The police conducted background checks on him and discovered that Darren had only been a bus driver for a few days and that the references on his application were all fake, except for one who happened to be a convicted pedophile. On May 24th, 3 weeks after Jamie was reported missing, police summoned Darren for questioning. The Lavis family was shocked that he was even considered a person of interest. Karen, Jamie's mother, believed the police were desperate and arrested Darren on impulse. The police were forced to release Vickers without charge. Although the police had their suspicions, they couldn't charge him based on that alone. They needed more. Amazingly, Darren returned to Buckley Street, where the Lavis family greeted him with open arms. He was still seen as a sympathetic and encouraging friend by John and Karen. In July, Darren, who was still frequently caught in the media, called up a local Manchester radio station and spoke to a talk show host. Listeners started calling in to quiz him on his version of events. Everyone agreed that something was off. As the summer drew to a close, the police were now convinced that Jamie was dead and that Darren was behind it. However, sharing these thoughts with the Lavis proved almost impossible, as Darren had managed to insert himself into the family. So the police kept their cards close to their chests. Thanks to some outstanding driving offenses, Darren Vickers was arrested and sentenced to 10 weeks in prison. This kept him away from the family for some time, and the police continued their investigation, searching for holes in Darren's story. But there was still one major issue for the investigator and his team. Jamie had vanished without a trace, and at this point, the police believed they were dealing with a murder, but without a body, it would be impossible to prove. On October 14th, police concluded that they had enough circumstantial evidence to arrest and charge Darren Vickers for Jamie Lavis's kidnapping, but not enough proof to charge him with murder. The Lavis family had no choice but to embrace the truth about Darren Vickers. Some teenagers recognized Darren from the news and went straight to the police station with a scary story of their own. They claimed that Darren lured them into the woods one night and showed them a picture of Jamie before pointing forward and saying, "I think that's him." Darren began walking towards the woods, and the two teenagers, a girl and a boy, turned and ran. It also came to light that Darren Vickers brought Jamie's brother John to the woods. He gave him a cigarette, told him where Jamie was, and said that if he didn't behave, he'd also end up there. Following these revelations, the police began an extensive search of the wooded area, the exact location the teens described. The search team discovered parts of a child's clothing half a mile into the woods. The police found the tracksuit bottoms Jamie was wearing when he went missing. The clothing was returned to the police station to get forensically checked. The officers also found a little jawbone wrapped in the clothing. Other body parts were also discovered, dispersed around the woods. DNA profiling of some baby teeth revealed them to be Jamie's remains. Due to the decomposition, the cause of death could not be determined. Darren Vickers was arrested and charged with the abduction and murder of Jamie Lavis. People think Darren took Jamie into the woods in his car at the end of his shift that day, where he sexually assaulted, killed, and dismembered Jamie's body. After that, he got involved with the Lavis family, partially to clear his name and partially due to his obsession with the case. Darren initially pled not guilty, and a 7-week-long trial ensued. Throughout the trial, Darren protested his innocence. He made a shocking claim that Jamie's father had been the one to kill his son. Darren alleged that he and Karen had an affair, and that Karen was holding his child. Karen even had to take a blood test to prove him wrong. 2 years after Jamie's disappearance, Darren Vickers was found guilty of the abduction and murder of Jamie Lavis. After the guilty verdict came in, Darren asked to talk to the chief investigating officer and finally admitted to the abduction, sexual assault, and murder of Jamie. He was later sentenced to life in prison with a minimum time of 25 years. Darren has subsequently gone on to brag to his fellow convicts about the terrible murder, outlining what he did to Jamie. Rory Rainford, the chief investigation officer, believes that the day Darren was caught, the police had surely stopped a serial killer in the making. Laura Richards, a criminal profiler, said that criminals like these only stop when they are caught. It's difficult to imagine the sorrow Darren Vickers has caused his family. Jamie's mother said that when Jamie was killed, a part of her died as well.